Welcome once again to Population Genetics and Evolution, Bio 208, Unit 5, Session 1, Charles Darwin and Evidence-Based Evolution Concept. By the end of this session, you should be able to state the observations made by Charles Darwin in relation to evolutionary change and explain Darwin's deductions and postulate evolution of population. Charles Darwin's voyage to Galapagos Islands. He was a medical school dropout who later earned a theology degree and rose to become botany professor, nominated to be a naturalist on a voyage to South America, 1831 to 1836. His Royal Majesty's sailing ship Beagle. On his voyage, HMS Beagle. On his voyage, he started collecting specimens and developing ideas in order to explain why some species survived while others became extinct. Data collected from his voyage made him to conclude that evolution of species was based on the idea of natural selection. This theory was synthesized evidence from animal husbandry, biogeography, geology, morphology, and embryology. So that is where he began his sail point from Devonport, England, through to El Salvador, through to Rio de Janeiro, Montevideo, Falklands, Valparaiso, Cabo, Peru, Galapagos, Ecuador. So that is the voyage of Charles Darwin in 1831 to 1836. New species in Galapagos that were similar to mainland species. Differences in species among islands on the Galapagos. Australian marsupials outwardly similar and with similar natures to placental species elsewhere. Fossils similar to extant species in South America, but not elsewhere. 4 species of finches are adapted to different natures, different food sources on the Galapagos Islands. That's 1 to 4 below. So you have 1, the Geospiza magnetrotis, and 2, you have Geospiza fortis, and 3, you have Geospiza parvula, and 4, Certidia olivacea. These are the finches that he made as known. Charles Darwin's deductions and postulates on evolution of populations. Homology. This refers to similarities which occurs across species, especially when similar form is modified for different function. So the diagram shows a chicken embryo and a human embryo. Chicken embryo, you have slits of homologous to fish gill slits, then you have the tail as compared to that of the human. So Charles Darwin's 4 postulates on evolution of populations are as follows. The first postulate, individuals within species vary. Postulate 2, some of the variations within species are heritable. Postulate 3, more offspring are produced than can survive. Postulate 4, survival and reproduction are non-random. Postulate 1, individuals within species vary. How can you test whether individuals within its population vary? Postulate 2, some of the variations within species are heritable. Heritability is important within and among population as it is reflective of the proportion of variation in a trait that has a genetic basis. Also necessary for a trait to respond to selection with a change in the average trait value in the population only if offspring resemble their parents, or the distribution of traits in the next generation reflect the traits of the most successful individuals in the parental generation. How can you test whether variation in a trait is heritable? Postulate 3, more offspring are produced than can survive. How can this be tested? 2, offspring as juveniles of most organisms often die before maturing. 3, some organisms produce more offspring than others. Postulate 4, survival and reproduction are non-random. The individuals that survive and reproduce the most are those with variations that best suits their environment. How can you test for non-random survival or reproduction? So, in review, Charles Darwin was a medical school dropout who later earned a theology degree and rose to become botany professor. Data collected from his voyage made him to conclude that evolution of species was based on the idea of natural selection. Darwin's observations made on his voyage included the following: new species in Galapagos that were similar to mainland species, differences in species among islands on the Galapagos, Australian marsupials outwardly similar and with similar natures to placental species elsewhere, fossils similar to extant species in South America but not elsewhere. Charles Darwin's four postulates on evolution are: individuals within species vary. That's postulate 1. Postulate 2, some of the variations within species are heritable. Postulate 3, more offspring are produced than can survive. Postulate 4, survival and reproduction